I work for OTAN, which stands for Outreach and Technical Assistance Network. It's a free agency that works with California adult ed teachers. The website, though, that's everyone can use. And so there's a whole lot of stuff there that I think that you would find beneficial, so you might check out. Our webinar is called Enhance High School and High School Equivalency Success with AI-Driven Interactive Curriculum from CK-12 for free. I love the free part. A little bit about me. I'm Debbie Jensen. I worked in adult education in most of the programs, but ended up in ABE for the majority of my time and helping teachers integrate technology in their classrooms in Southern California. I also worked for OTAN, and which has been a joy. And after I retired, I continued working with OTAN. I used CK-12 in my class and loved it and got involved with it as we ended up partnering with them. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Let Laramie tell you about himself.
Certainly. Thanks, Debbie. My name is Laramie Spence. I am the head of content at CK-12. I've worked at CK-12 for around 15 years now. I started as a contractor helping with math and then took over the math department. And now anything that is pretty on the website, I get to take credit for, and anything that's a mess, I claim I didn't have anything to do it. I've worked at a private school for several years, about 15 years before that, and taught for another 10 years before that. So I've been in education a long time. But I'm really very happy with what I do now, and it's a lot of fun to be able to make wonderful math and science curriculum and give it away for free. So that's
Very
why we're
good.
here.
Yeah, that is why we're here. Okay, now this is kind of our idea of what we want to cover. All right. If you want to follow along, go to ck12.org and sign up. It's free. It will always be free. And they will ask you a few questions about the program because they want to kind of help you get organized with what they're going to offer you. But you can go and look at everything. But so they might ask you what kind of courses that you're teaching, what is the age group and stuff like that. So we're going to look at CK-12, give you an idea of what it is. A big focus on what is new. We're going to show you what a CK-12 FlexBook looks like, and so you can get excited about how it could be used in your class. We'll return to that later, but I want to get you excited right at the beginning. We also want to show you about the AI tutor called Flexi. Everyone should be using it, and so we want to make sure you understand that. We want to show you how the data-driven analytics of insights and foresights can help teachers. Talk about the responsible AI-powered education that's offered. Adult education in CK-12 now, the partnership that we made, and how it can support you and your students, and of course, then the challenge that we can finally do the things that we've been trying to do for our students forever. All right, so a little bit. Knowing CK-12's motto, their mantra, if you will, can kind of give you an idea of what they have focused on. Their philosophy is all people everywhere learn in their own way. And so that's what they've done. They have not limited themselves to any one area of teaching, whether it be visual or audio or whatever. They've tried to include them all so that students can find the easiest way for them to learn. And they want to make sure that they can equip the students and the teachers with the help to be successful, that they can get extra help. If this didn't work, that they can try something else. Through the years, they have added upon. At first it was FlexBooks, and then they added the practice questions that they have. And that is a huge, wonderful opportunity that you can use just that. They have, I don't even know how many questions available, and they gear them so that if the student gets it wrong, then they ask a little easier question. If they get it right, they ask a little harder question. They offer help and assistance along the way to help the students move forward. And they also wanted to make sure that you as the teacher knows what the student's doing. Because the truth of it is, when the student leaves our classroom, we're not sure what they're doing. We don't know how long they spent in the book. We don't know what they struggled with. And CK-12 has worked hard to help that so that you as a teacher know how to where to spend your time. This is just a listing of their subjects. They started originally with the STEM program, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And they have experts in all of them, and they update them and constantly are keeping up with those. They have also partnershiped for English, economics, government history, CTE classes, ESL, and much more. Now, CK-12 is a foundation. Um, They have been around since 2007, and they've served, and I don't think I've got the right numbers because they constantly go up. So over 236 million users worldwide, over 342,000 FlexBooks that have been customized. And that's another feature that I'm just going to pause and tell you about. If you buy the textbook and that's the one you're using, and in my situation, it was usually the ones that the high school was now done with, they were going to buy new ones and they gave the adult school their old ones. So they were massively out of date. But even if I could buy new textbooks, they would be out of date the minute they were off the presses because they don't have what's happened now, whether it's in science or whether it's in politics or in government or in history. These things are constantly changing. And so you're constantly behind, but not here. The thing that CK-12 has done is opened their platform so that you can modify, add, delete, merge, all of the things that they have so that you can have things that include local history, that are updated in what happened in history last week or some latest finding in science. They can be added at all times. That's powerful. Um, and it's free. It will always be free. You're not going to hit a power wall. You're not going to have it free and you're going to get excited and everything. And then they're going to start charging you. None of that. Those are exciting things, especially for us as teachers. The quality is outstanding in the programs and the FlexBooks that they have written. They're always right on top of things. And last but definitely not least, in adult ed, there are so many times that our students, their source of their classroom materials and such is their phone. And so making sure that CK-12 is accessible on their phones, on their tablets, on the computer, or even it can be available in print. Now, obviously, you're not going to get the interactive ability there, but it is still there and available for you so that if you have students that need to take something home and they have no internet, or even an area of your district that the internet is wonky, these are things that are available for them. Now, I love CK-12, but there's nothing I can say that will help you understand. And so we're going to turn it over to Laramie so that he can get you all excited about what's there. Let me stop sharing. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Debbie. All right, I'm going to start here, just the main CK-12 homepage. If you just go to ck12.org, you will either see this page or you'll see this version of it. This one is assuming that you're coming on as a student, and this one is just assuming you're coming on as a teacher, but it's the same homepage. And you'll see, as Debbie was pointing out here, that under subject, there is a wide array of different subjects that CK-12 has content for. Generally speaking, all of the math and all of the science and this first little bit of English, these are all books that CK-12 has personally, well, as an organization, has commissioned and then manages and keeps up to date and adds new content to and refreshes on a regular basis. And then generally speaking, the things on the right-hand side are collaborations. Like you'll see here, obviously the adult education is a collaboration with O10 here and Debbie's wonderful work. Some of the translations you'll see here are actually native translated versions of our books. So we have a built-in translation function, but these are actually whole books that were translated. all the college curriculum, curriculum specifically for different countries, so like CBSE and so forth. So a lot of different kinds of curriculum here. What I'm going to do is show you specifically our biology and some of our geometry today. So I just chose lesson 2.1 here in the biology. And what we're going to look at are a few of the different kinds of things that come with every CK-12 book. You don't have to pay for these things separately. Everything's still free. You don't have to choose these separate options. All this just comes with any of the books on the platform. Among them are some accessibility things like understanding terms that may be unique or unusual for students so that they can right away from the beginning kind of be connected to what's going on in the lesson. If there's anything that maybe they just aren't really familiar with something, they can hover over any of these words that have the highlight, and it gives them an immediate short description, as well as often links to other lessons that may give more detailed information about that. You'll also see that most of the lessons in any of the interactive books that we have will have several different kinds of media. Of course, there will be imagery. Many of them have these interactives. This one talks a little bit about, what happens with diffusion here. If we see how we had diffusing through toward the outside instead of diffusing from the outside in. And so a lot of these interactives that kind of give you a feel for how things actually look, or how they would look if you could have X-ray vision. And then as well, more detailed descriptions about the individual processes. Here's another interactive here for the biology, talking about transport proteins. And then they'll also have media in the form of videos, sometimes just discussion questions, and then what we call these inline quizzes or inline question sets. These are very formative assessments. So the idea is that as a student, you have to answer the question correctly before you move on, but it's very clear as you're answering these, not only which ones are right, bright green, obviously, but it tells you why it's right and why any specific wrong answer might be wrong. If I choose an incorrect answer here, it'll tell me specifically why that answer is or is not correct. So I can learn the material as I'm going along answering the questions. And although it tells you when you're right or wrong, these aren't graded. These aren't scores that are going anywhere. So it's a very low stress sort of a situation. And then, of course, it's a lesson summary and some review questions. Now, in addition to everything that's in the lesson, there's a couple of other fun sort of additions here. The first one I'm going to show you is up here under the toolbar, under related content. Related content is a whole host of additional modalities of learning, additional media that supports all of this. We have the Plix here, which are the play, learn, interact, and explore. These are sort of dedicated interactives that have question sets that go along with it. This is a real-world application, obviously, several videos, a full study guide. So lots of related content that goes along with what's here. Additionally, we have down here under practice. Now it says continue practice because I've played with this lesson before, and it'll show kind of the answers that I gave the last time I was in the adaptive practice here. But if I open up the adaptive practice, you can see these are questions, in this case, 10 of them, that were either written by or specifically curated by my team to go along with the lesson that we just saw. And as you're going through here, not only do you have sort of the ability to see the information about each individual question, but you can also chat with our new AI Flexi, and Flexi will talk to you about whatever is going on in this question here. The hint here was think about the different types of proteins that facilitate transport across the cell membrane. And maybe I'm not a biology person. I can't even think of a good question. So I'm just going to say, huh? And Flexi is very sharp, handles student speak, even Laramie speak pretty well, understands that what I meant was I just didn't understand it all, and gives me a little bit more detail. And then also offers a suggestion for a next question that I may have. Maybe I didn't think to ask this. Certainly I know that as I'm working with something, the biggest challenge is not even knowing what to ask. And so Flexi will also give you suggestions on maybe something that would help you understand the content a little better. So this is now available throughout the adaptive practice and help support all along with all the questions in the adaptive practice. I see that there's a question about Spanish. Yes, we have a whole host of the books that are actually in native Spanish, as well as we're going to talk a little bit more about what Flexi can do later. And I'll show you that Flexi can also translate things into Spanish. And you can actually, depending on your browser, one of the neat tricks you can do with Google Chrome that I use is to do the built-in translate, which also, because we work so deeply with that, will translate all the navigation buttons and everything else. So if you just set your browser language to Spanish, you'll see that that happens automatically. All right, let's take a look at the geometry real quick. Obviously, this is a very different subject. This one's all math. This one talking about transformations in the plane. There's several different sections here. We're going to first look at, there's a different kind of interactive that we show in the math books here that kind of gives you an idea of how specific, graph or coordinate plane imagery works. Same hover technology here where you can get information about specific vocabulary, same embedded video options. There's a whole set of interactives that are basically walkthroughs of how to solve particular equations if they're multi-step equations, so you get to see the step-by-step process. Those are very nice if you're trying to understand how something works out step by step. And then several of these, what we call, well, these are embedded interactives, but these are actually, some of these are built with our own in-house tools, some are built with GeoGebra, but many of them have built-in activity here where you learn about what's going on with the lesson. This one is asking whether or not something is a rigid transformation, and you can see here, let you take a look at the dimensions to see whether something is or is not a rigid transformation. There's I was trying to get down to the review question section here at the bottom. In the geometry, there's an extensive review and an additional answer key that's available in the teacher's edition. And then also that, of course, adaptive practice that we saw before. And then one other quick thing I want to show you here. Suppose, for instance, I don't understand what rigid motion transformation is. And you'll see it's not highlighted, so I can't just get that hover vocabulary. But if I just highlight that section and click discuss with Flexi, Flexi opens up and says, hey, oh, it looks like you want to discuss the following. And it shows the whole paragraph. And then it also shows specifically the part I highlighted here. And again, I'm going to do the classic Laramie question. Huh? Sure thing. Let's break it down together. And she'll explain for you in detail what's going on with each of the parts in that paragraph, and particularly the part that you highlighted. So that gives us a quick overview of those books. I'm happy to go a little more in depth if you would like, Debbie. Do you want to move on and come back, or do you want me to keep going?
Well, let's move on and then come back. The
That
thing
sounds
that
like a
we
heck of
want,
a plan.
well, the thing we want to do is we want to meet your needs. And so if there's something that you see and you have a question, be sure to put it in the chat and we'll come back and we will be sure that we answer your questions and the things that you're trying to learn. All right, so let me grab the share. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's keep going. Laramie mentioned Flexi. Now, Flexi has been around for a while. And when it was first introduced, it was, not sure why it moved forward. We'll just keep it here. It,
It's an automatic play mode instead of pause
I
mode.
guess so. I don't know if I hit that somehow. Didn't mean to. Okay, so some of the things that Flexi can do that we want to be sure that you recognize is that it's free, accessible, and it's available 24/7. It's adaptable. It's got the AI adaptability. Now you said that I've put this in automatic advance, but I don't see that I hit anything to do that. So I am puzzled.
I
Oh,
don't use the Microsoft version very often, I'm afraid.
yeah.
If you leave the
Close of that.
presentation and come back, will it go back into default?
Well, let's try that.
Sorry,
Let's
try
stop the
shutting down your
share
share. Yeah, there you go.
and then let's try that again. And we'll end it and then we'll start it back up. Okay. That's what usually I do when my computer is giving me grief. So let's give it a shot here and see if that works too. Okie doke. Here we go. And we're going to start from the current slide. Okie doke. Fingers crossed that we're going to be able to point out some of the things. These are the things that people have been saying about Flexi that they really, really like. I'm sorry, folks. one thing that's here is it's structured answers without detours, which means that it it doesn't ask you questions. It says, here's the answer. Let me show you how it works. It gives you step by step. There's also career connections, which are exciting, I think, that we can see. All right, let's keep going. And the last one where it says Flexi Tutor Chrome extension, that's brand new. And this is so exciting because how many times are you somewhere online that you have a question and you could really use a tutor? Now you can get a Chrome extension, a Flexi AI tutor, and you can get that available to you. Now, because we've got so much we want to talk about, I have a video here that is a presentation by Nehru Khosla about Flexi, and it's delightful. I'm going to leave it in here and you will have access to the slides. I really recommend you watching it. You will be delighted because she shows how students can use Flexi. But this was before Flexi added AI. So now it's even more incredible in what it can do. All right. Okie doke. Now, just pointing out some of them. And I'm going to have Laramie show it and demonstrate it, but I'm just going to show some things I'm excited by. I sometimes, a teacher can tell me something and they'll be very, very, very precise, and I won't understand any word of it. And that's where the analogy comes in. You find out what a person is interested in, whether it's soccer or Fortnite or whatever it is. Maybe they are going in to become a nurse. And so that they can write these and they can explain the analogy of whatever they're talking about in that so that the person understands it better. There is the translate feature. There's the rephrase feature so that, well, could you explain that to me in other words? Challenge me, give me another problem so that I can give it a shot and see if I can do it. All of these things are available. Those are the ones on the left. Then you got the ones on the right where they give you examples that are from CK-12, not just AI, but CK-12 so that the student can go deeper and study more. Curiosity questions, more tools, clarifications, amazing amount that is here that Flexi can offer our students. Again, these are links that I'll want you to go through. They're shorts and they're delightful. The first one's talking about the translate feature. There are times, now the way this was first explained to me was a teacher that was a parent that was coming in for a parent-teacher conference. So it was K-12. And the parent was apologetic because they couldn't help their child, because they couldn't understand what was happening in the book, because of language. And so the teacher showed that CK-12 was totally available in other languages with Translate and Google. That's cool. That's cool with Flexi as well. The second one is the idea of the analogy, and you'll have to listen to it because it's teaching you the parts of the eye using Fortnite as the analogy. The next one, start the day with a curiosity question. We're always looking for ways to make our class start in an interesting way, and Flexi can step right in. Now there's many more, but these were the ones that touched my soul. And this one is Hamid, and he's a refugee. He's in Malaysia, and they had limited access to any educational resources, but he was able to use the internet, and he was able to use CK-12, and he was able to create materials and classes for his people. That is impressive. All right, we'll get on to the next screen. Okay. All right. Okay, so now, Laramie, take it away and show them Flexi.
Sure. Okay. Actually, I went to the Flexi homepage. I'm just going to show you real quick the easiest way to get there. There's several ways. If you're at the CK-12 homepage for students, basically you can just ask any question you like here in the Ask Me Anything window, and it'll go directly into Flexi. You can also go to just flexi.org, and it'll take you straight to that same Flexi homepage. It's the one you just saw on Debbie's screen there. And now she mentioned several of the kinds of things that Flexi does, and I think there's a whole host of things. I'm not really not going to have time to get through them all. I'm going to go through just a quick sort of a speed date on the right hand side, real quick here, and then I'll give you some specific examples of some of the kinds of answers that Flexi offers, which is what's really fascinating. Also, I know that Debbie mentioned this, but I think it's hard to overstate. How big a deal it is that Flexi was a functional AI long before GPT hit the stage, and suddenly everybody knew what an LLM was, and everybody knew what an AI was. Flexi was built by CK-12 several years ago. It was much easier at that time to do science and a little bit of social studies than it was to do math, because the math has so many special characters in it, and it was hard for the machine to understand those. But particularly with the science and the social studies, we were able to give all answers directly from our own library to questions that students would ask about our curriculum. And the built-in AI would basically find the matching snippet of text from our content that would answer any student's question. And if it was something we didn't have a snippet for, we actually had CK-12 employees answer that question personally and add that to the library so it was there for the next time a student asked. And due to that, there's some 35,000, I think it is, human typed answers that are part of our library specifically from that initiative that are still revealed by Flexi today. So you can see that there's still a lot that supports the LLM technology that also underpins it today. Basically, what we gained was a lot of flexibility with the LLM. But if you take a look on the right-hand side, first thing we see here is that there's now an app, a desktop app and an Android app for Flexi, so you can use it on your phone or on your desktop. One of the neat things with that desktop app is the ability to use Flexi with any other website. Basically, it opens as a panel on the right-hand side of your screen, and you can do many of the functions that you can use Flexi for in the CK-12 lessons, you can use with whatever other web pages you're on as a student. Additionally, there's suggested questions that will be based on whatever you're discussing on the left-hand side. I haven't started discussing anything, so they're just sort of general right now. Homework help, learn a concept, and step-by-step solutions. These are just sort of shortcut ways to get to other things that Flexi does. The biggest one here is learn a concept. This is something we call the like a Flexi book is what I call it. But basically what it does is have Flexi walk you through one of the lessons in any given Flexbook. So like, for instance, we had that diffusion. Let's see what happens. I may make myself look funny here, but I'm going to see if we can just type diffusion. Never do an actual live demo, Laramie, and just guess at things, but we're going to do it anyway. So Flexi's going to say, great, have you learned diffusion before? I'm going to say, no, this is new to me. And it's going to take me to this Flexi-led lesson here, and you'll see the topic is going to be movement of molecules across the cell membrane. And if we look through here, you'll recognize this is from that other lesson. But instead of the lesson being all at once, it's step by step, piece by piece. And the students aren't given the whole lesson all at once. It's a little easier to sort of chunk things. And Flexi will occasionally pause and ask questions along the way that aren't in the other version of the lesson. So you get a little bit more interaction with Flexi as you go through. So just another way to interact with the CK-12 content. Now let's go back to Flexi here. All right, so in addition to that learn a concept or my lessons, we have the sort of the main show for Flexi here, and that is that you can ask basically any CK-12, any K through 12 question you like on into certainly lower level college. Flexi assumes that most students are I would say about grade 14 on down, the first couple of years of college, so that by default, the answers are in that range. But basically any subject you like. But you'll see that unlike just say GPT, where if you ask a question, you get just a text answer, Flexi actually has access to the entire CK-12 content library. So this is like one of those hover interactives like we had in the geometry that you saw. And this actually allows a student to see how transversals work and how alternate angles work and how vertical angles work. And you can see how it highlights things in the image right in the response from Flexi. You can also ask Flexi to say, rephrase that. Maybe you didn't understand the way it was written. You want it just written in another set of words, or maybe you want to make it a little simpler. Bullet points, key points about what that is. Maybe you want a little more detail, you can, kind of zoom up, zoom down on that. You can ask for an analogy. Not much for analogies for food topics when it comes to alternate angles here. You'll find that usually Flexi, when I do demos, talks about video games because that's I'm kind of a video gamer myself, but this particular account does fashion. So here we go, fashion and food do a little better. So really, and then of course that translation function we talked about before, and it will actually translate into any one of, I think there's 100 and something language in there, and you'll see that the interactivity still works, which is, I think, just amazing. So even if you only speak Afrikaans, you can understand what that interactivity shows you on the left-hand side simply by hovering over the words over here on the right. So pretty neat, pretty powerful translation features there. Let's take a look. Let's try a biology question. Let's try. Actually, I know one that's fun. Not everything that's interactive is math. Here's one of our newer ones that talks about the phases of the moon, the lunar phases. And you can see here we have a picture of the moon. And then as we sort of scroll left and right, it talks about how the moon appears in different phases. That one's pretty fun. And then something else that I think is really a neat factor with CK-12 is this, see if I can get divisibility here. Give you a good example. I'm not going to type because I type slow. If I asked specifically what the divisibility rule for 6 is, now the LLM functionality tells us that we can answer something very specific, like this question about specifically the number 6, right? And we get that sort of direct answer. Now, under other sources, we get the ability to see what CK-12 library has for that. Now, usually these will be general responses that are related here. Like for instance, when you divide exponential numbers, numbers are divisible. So it tells us about the divisibility rule, but not necessarily that specific question. But the other thing you'll get here is interactivity. Now this one says number is divisible by 6 if it's divisible by 2 and 3, but you can also put in now any other number you want and see what 32,000 happens to be divisible by and why. And it tells you the rule that applies for each of these numbers and whether or not it's divisible. So that functionality that CK-12 offers through Flexi allows you not only to get that AI flexibility, but also the back of the CK-12 vetted responses and the expert content that you've always kind of associated with CK-12. So it's a really, really neat pairing. And you can click on the speaker button and have Flexi read to you. You can ask questions out loud using a microphone. You can upload pictures. If you're on a phone, you can take a picture or you can upload an image on your computer, and it's phenomenally good. That if you have a complex math question and you don't know how to type it or you don't want to type it in there, just write it on a piece of paper and take a picture. Phenomenally accurate. So a lot of really, really powerful functions that are not just standard run-of-the-mill chatbot stuff.
That's exciting. My goodness. And I've seen so many things that because I taught ABE, we never got to that level of math ever. So that's exciting to see that. All right, we'll continue on. And again, questions that you have, put in the chat because Laramie is going to be working with that. Now, if that wasn't enough to say, hey, everybody, this is it, what you want. They wanted to help, CK-12 wanted to help the teacher. And so several years back, they started what they called insights. And insights would tell what the student is doing because the students inside the FlexBook. And so CK-12 could know how much time and what they were doing. So they would give a class overview, the level of engagement, how engaged was the student, what was their skill level, were they performing at a low level or a high level, had they turned in or not. Those insights and then even made recommendations, which were pretty cool. Now, Laramie helped me with this chart. This chart is a whole class insight. And so we see overall, okay, which students are at what level. But if you notice the bottom red ones, they're not all equivalent. Some of those students spent seconds on the course. They didn't do any work. But on the other side, we have this John D, who spent 45 minutes in the FlexBook, and he's not doing well. So this identifies for you which students you need to work with, because you'll get the best benefit because he's putting in his time. They give you insights and recommendations to remind certain students to complete the goal of answering 10 questions correctly. So you actually can come to the students and say, you didn't do this. I mean, they're going to feel like someone's looking over their shoulder. It's great. You can have the students review the following questions so that they will be able to move forward, because they could see that CK-12 could see that these were places they had problems. And they tell you the actual lessons that the students can use and work on to catch up and to know. And then also those students that are doing so very well that they need some benefit of moving on, not to be just stuck with the other students until they all get it. So we get charts like this. Now this one has the added foresights, which is the newest thing that they have added. So we see the questions that are going to offer the skill level prediction of who's going to do what and what they're going to be able to do. Um, and with this, they can predict that 10 students may miss the following questions, and they need to brush up on this to be prepared. So you'll not only know which students, if they took the test that's on Friday, if they took it today, they wouldn't be ready. They'd miss these questions probably, but you can guide them to tell them what they ought to study. And then we've got the next question, so you can get a real idea of what you ought to be focused on as a teacher. And so we see here the two together. We see the foresights and the areas that students are going to be having troubles with. And over here, we see that question 1, question 2, and question 3, these questions that are upcoming are going to give people problems. And one step further, here's question 2. And these are the students that are predicted that they're going to get it right. And these are the students that are predicted to get it wrong. So you can really focus. You can gather a small group of students and say, okay, we need to focus on this so that we're going to be ready for that test that's coming up. CK-12 also wanted to be sure, because a lot of us are a little bit hesitant about AI and feeling that we know what's going on. And CK-12 wanted to be sure that you understood that they understand that. So with adaptive practice, which is personalized exercises that adjust to each student's learning pace and proficiency, reinforcing the understanding and aiding in their mastery. The fact-checking explanations, their comprehensive answers verified by educators to maintain accuracy and trustworthiness, along with the LMM generated responses. In the multimodal learning experience, again, CK-12 excels. They have a variety of resources. If you have a student I had a student who was really, really struggling with math, and it wasn't that he wasn't trying, he was trying, but it was hard. But the extra ways of looking at the math were helpful to him. Now, he didn't suddenly become an A student, but he finally could understand it well enough that he could pass the course and it wouldn't be stopping him in his future. CK-12 was concerned about data privacy, implementing robust protocols to safeguard personal information and ensuring that the AI enhanced learning doesn't compromise the privacy. So they offer clear communication and transparency in the things that they are doing. And I value that. Now, close to my heart, it's about 5 years now, I guess, when we partnered. What happened was Netta Anasari and Carl from CK-12 would meet at OER, Open Educational Resources, conferences, and they'd chat. And Netta said, hey, it looks like CK-12 could really be helpful to adult learners. And Carl said, I think so too. And that was the beginning of this partnership. So I want to share with you. Can you all hear it? No. All right. Okay. Then I did the share without clicking on the one button that you have to click on so that you can see that. So let me go back to the share, click on that one, share sound. Yep, I missed that. Okay, so now let's start it again.
In my life, I was
Okay, here we go.
What brought me to Corona Norco Adult School was the desire to have a sense of accomplishment. I noticed that in my life, I was missing that.
Adult education is extremely important. It's about equity. It doesn't have to be, you failed the first time, you're a failure for life.
Adults who are coming back to school are coming back with a purpose, and they're coming back because they want to be there. The challenges that adult education has had with curriculum in the past is that you may be looking for something that's a very low level literacy for an adult to read, and the content is very childish.
For adult ed, we have limited funding, so we are looking for free resources that are quality content that are accessible to learners anywhere. And we were able to see that CK-12 does offer quality and free at the same time.
I didn't have to go back to my school and ask if there was budget for it. I could bring it to my students that same day.
CK-12 was a really fun program to use. I felt like it kept me motivated. While working on the program, it sends you messages of encouragement.
One of the things I've noticed with CK-12 is when they go into those high-stake equivalency exams, they're better prepared. They pass with higher scores.
With my graduation coming around the corner, I have to remind myself, you did it, you earned it.
And she did it during COVID. That's pretty cool. All right. Okay. So ways
You're
to
actually
search.
sharing your
Oh,
presenter view at this point. I
oh,
didn't know if you saw that on. You want to share
nope.
your other main
I
view?
didn't. I didn't. I'm, let's go back and we will.
We all got to hear the great speaking by that student.
Oh,
That's a pretty cool testimonial.
yeah, that's an amazing thing. I think that we all want that. And we're so proud when our students get that. Okay. So what we're looking at now, as you're getting all excited about CK-12, just a very, very quick how to get started. You can search in a variety of ways. One is in the search bar where it says free teaching resources. You type in what you want there. You can go to the subjects. You can also go to explore. The one thing I wanted you to see here, though, is that everything you find that you get excited by and you're thinking, well, that's not what I need now, but I don't want to lose that. You can tell CK-12 to put it in your library, kind of like this big repository of all the stuff that you really like. Well, where is your library? It's there. It's under your name and your profile. So that's where you'll find it. You also see there a number 2 where it says My Classes. CK-12 is available through several LMS, but it's also available to create classes for you. And it will track grades. It will give you all of this help in the learning and what the students are doing through those classes. And this is where those classes will show. And then we also have there your dashboard. And the dashboard, oh, okay, we're looking again at the different classes, not classes, the different subjects so that you can see. Now, one of the things that happened recently, CK-12, these people are extremely bright, and I think they all have ADHD. And the reason I say that is they can't stop working. They can't just sit back and take a vacation. They made all these conventional FlexBooks that were wonderful and interactive. And then they wanted to add more interactivity. Well, let's put definitions. And you saw the things that Laramie showed. And they will continue to do that. They will continue to make things phenomenally exciting. So definitely you'll want to take a look at what's available. Now, when we were joining in together and we wanted to create courses. And when I say create, that makes it sound like we wrote them. No, 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 we're not dumb. We use CK-12 courses and we put them together so that they would be available for you. Now, some of them, the science and the math, are CK-12. But they've also partnered with others so that this is where we get high school. You notice what's here. You can start your high school program today. They've got history, government, economics, biology, chemistry, physics, pre-algebra, and algebra 1. Write up what the things that we need. And if you're looking for your GED or your high school equivalency, foundational math for high school equivalency, algebra basics, geometry, data statistics, probability, algebra, mathematics, science, and the science companion. Now, we have a teacher, and I have a slide to show you a little bit more about her, who was looking for materials for her high-set students. And she didn't want science courses that had every single science subject, because they don't put those on the test, so you don't need to know those. So she curated the exact things from CK-12 that were necessary to pass the test. And she gathered them together, and that's what you see here. She did a really, really marvelous job. We also have career tech, and this is just beginning. We have anatomy and physiology. And I approached a teacher about these, and I said, hey, do you think this CK-12 course is good? And she was very picky, a little snobby, but that's okay. But she looked down through everything and she said, this covers everything that I need in my medical course. So I was really, really, really pleased. She was tough. On the CTE cosmology, I put this one together for our cosmetology program at my school to show them that there were things for them. Does it cover everything in your program? No, but the things that CK-12 had created about nails and hair and skin, and theirs, they had them at two different levels, a lower level and a higher level for them to use. And then a teacher used the CK-12 platform to create the home health aid course totally on her own. That's one of the other things about CK-12 that is amazing. They didn't keep this all a secret. They've opened it up so that you can create from them or on your own. We have also the beginning of ESL courses, basic grammar, intermediate grammar, employment, safety for ESL students, health for beginning ESL. And the question mark is, we would love it if you, in the creation of your own courses with your own school, if you added here so that everyone could use it. I think one of the things I love about adult ed is that we work so hard, but we also recreate the wheel. And so it would be good if one person created it and we could all use it, and then we can move forward and create more. This was the teacher I told you about, Shanna Friend. She was looking for outcomes. She found CK-12. She thought the material was excellent. And so she gathered it. She added what she needed to add. She then assessed the materials with her students. She customized it as needed, and she uses it all the time. She also created videos because adult ed students sometimes don't do so well with the online. And so she created videos, little short ones, to teach them how to use the different parts of CK-12. And here's where we love CK-12. You can have those videos. You can have her courses. We can all share together. They have an area on YouTube for their quick overviews. And it's linked here so that you can easily go to it and see how many of these short little videos to help you with the various things as you start using CK-12. I remember March when COVID shut down my school on a Friday, and then the Monday, no longer were the students in class. And then you struggled through till May and you wondered what was going to happen in the fall. Well, once again, CK-12 was not going to just sit and be bored. They got busy and they created Flexlets to help the students learn the basics so that they would not be behind. And they did. They created these and they're wonderful. And you can use them just as they are, just tight as they are. They have the adaptive practice in them. They have the projections of how long they think the students are going to need to finish them, and they're all available. Very impressive. These are the three LMSs that CK-12 will integrate with: Google Classroom, Canvas, and Schoology. I used Google Classroom because I was doing it for myself. I wasn't doing it as a district. The district hadn't adopted anything yet. And so that's how I used it. But it works really, really well. And you would then go to your IT people to just turn it on at the other end so that you would have access to it. So you pick one. You click on the green button that has the big white arrow pointing to it that says choose. And under it, you see that you can assign it right there. You can send it out and the students have that lesson or that FlexBook right away. You can add it to your library. You can customize it. Maybe you'll be rearranging them. Maybe you don't teach math in that order. Maybe that lesson's supposed to be in another place. Maybe you need to add some stuff. Maybe there's videos that you've always loved. Add them. Now the add to FlexBook 2.0. This was one I didn't understand, but I've loved it and used it since. Let's say there's 2 FlexBooks you like and you want to merge them. Well, so then you create another one and then you can put in whatever you want and take out what you want. And then notice that you can download the PDF so that if that's necessary, you can do that. I'm checking my time. I want to be sure we have time to answer all your questions and show you more. Here is an area that people got confused. They would open up the table of contents. I would have told them that they could do all this editing and they would click on the number by introduction, the 1 or the 2, and it wasn't that. It was just the title and some weird stuff. And so it didn't seem to be what I promised. If you click on the arrow, that's where the 1 is pointing to it, that's where you open up all the lessons. Okay, so then when we clicked on that little arrow by the 2, it opened up 2.1, integers in the real world, 2.2, opposite integers. And over to the side where the number 2 is, you see the 3 dots, the skinny snowman, and that opens up the editing and the things you can do. And I circled at 3, I circled the update because when CK-12 makes a change, they want to let you know. You can then preview the update and decide if you're going to use it or if, well, but I've already changed this lesson and I think we can pass on that update, but you get the choice. So you can keep things updated if you like. You can edit it, you can rename it, you can move it, you can rearrange it. All of these things are there for you to be able to do. One last. This is the rich text editor that is available to you to be able to create all the magic. So you can see that you can insert links, tables, math editors, images. You can embed so that when you go to YouTube, they're not seeing all the other things that they can click on and get distracted by. You can embed it here so that it's in the course. So there's so much that you can do. All right. So when I got into teaching, I had this lofty idea that I would be able to help everybody at all the different levels in what they needed. And then I realized that I kind of had to aim for the middle and help the ones that are below and just wish happy thoughts to those that were above. But with CK-12, you can do that. You can differentiate the learning so that you can meet the needs of each of your students. And that's so exciting to me. So Laramie's been checking the chat. You've been putting in your questions. Let's let Laramie go live again and answer your questions by demonstrating the things that you have questions about.
I just posted another reminder there in the chat that we have a few minutes to answer specific questions. I'm not seeing any here that we haven't covered yet, but we'll give people a couple minutes to ask. In the meantime, if you like, there were a couple of other things that I thought I'd show related to your editing comments there and the teacher's tools that are available. I wish I had access to tomorrow today. Basically, actually, tomorrow might be a little bit of an exaggeration. By Friday, this week, we are actually coming out with a whole host of new tools that are powered by Flexi and that are specifically for teachers. And I would love to be able to show you those tools, but they're not available for me to show yet. But basically, what will happen is when you go to the CK-12 homepage later this week, if you are on the teacher version, you'll see that instead of this bar up here, there'll be a new link that says see the new Flexi teacher tools. And there'll be all kinds of tools for helping teachers prepare for classes, things like re-leveling the writing of a specific lesson. You can drag and drop a lesson in and say you want to re-level the phrasing for adults, for sixth graders, for fourth graders, and it'll take whatever the content of that text is and rephrase it so that the vocabulary and the examples and everything else are more appropriate for a specific level. And I can see the look on Debbie's face saying, why didn't you give me that a few years ago? Would have made some of this work so much easier. But it's an incredibly powerful tool, really, really great. Yeah, and I know there's about 24 of them. I'm completely blanking on what many of them were. There's a translate function can translate, not just like Google Translate does a decent job, but it tends to be very literal in its translation, where the translate tool that we've built in is much more of a phrase-based, intent-based translation. So it does a fantastic job into basically any language. It will let you generate questions. Say you have a lesson that you've either written yourself or that you have from some other source, and you want to have some quiz questions for it. Drag and drop the question into the quiz editor, tell what kinds of questions you want, how many, and it will generate both the questions for you to give to your students and also the answer key. There's a letter of recommendation, support, many tools. For those of you who might be familiar with Magic School, they have some similar tools that they did just with the LLM engines, the AI engines as well, that do a lot of the same functionality. So I'm very excited about that. I think we have a lot of teachers that are looking forward to that being available, and it, like I said, it should be available later this week. I know that I'm supposed to present on it in Southern California next week, so I certainly hope that this weekend on Friday and Saturday. So I certainly hope it's ready by then. All right, and then in addition, the other thing I wanted to show real quick, Debbie was talking a little bit about the custom content there. And what I wanted to show you was, she said something to the effect of CK-12 has 350,000 customized FlexBooks. And that's true. But what that misses is the fact that we have FlexBooks on just about any subject, not just the CK-12 content, but the subjects like she mentioned, where somebody started from zero. And I don't think it's in here anymore. My greatest example for this was always there used to be a FlexBook specifically on Area 51, which just made me crack up the first time I saw it. But I mean, it was an entire course on Area 51 that was somebody written a whole FlexBook for. But basically, if you go looking for a specific topic, let's try slope. Let's just do slope. We're going to do slope in all of CK-12. If I, over here on the left-hand side from my library, if I say that I specifically want to see FlexBooks or FlexBooks 2, then I'm going to get entire books that have that subject included in them. And you'll see here that there's everything from CBSE, which is in a lot of places in the world other than the US. We have the Algebra 1. Here's the Teacher's Edition book. Here's somebody who was asking earlier about Spanish curriculum. Here's the Spanish version of it. These are all CK-12 versions of books that we host. And then you'll also see under community contributed, there's how many 2,500 results for slope that were things that were created by CK-12 users. And the nice thing about this is, compared to maybe some other sort of user generated platforms, is that most of the people who take the time to generate an educational Flexbook on an educational website and go through the tools and everything to figure out how to do it have a purpose in mind. It's not people that are just, gee, I wonder if I can type go, 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 go 5,000 times and convince somebody to look at it. Generally speaking, most of these are very good curriculum that was created by a teacher somewhere for their purpose in their specific school. And that leads me to the last thing I wanted to point out here. And that is, if we go under Explore, you'll see that there is a function down here in the bottom left-hand corner that says Schools. Now, if, for instance, you are, I know I had a couple of people that were friends of mine that we just didn't know it until today that were also from Colorado. If you happen to be from Colorado, there are 16 schools in Colorado that have specifically shared their CK-12 customized Flexbooks, some of them topics that we have, some that we definitely don't, and built their own CK-12 version or their own versions of CK-12 content for their specific school. And I think you'll find, if, for instance, your state has a very specific set of standards that you need to meet, the easiest way to have a start on that is to go find a customized Flexbook from someone in your state, and they will have already addressed that, and you can work from their jumping off point. So we do have a question here. Somebody was asking, said they wanted to have their instructor start using this as soon as they get home. Do we have contact information in the event they have questions? And also, are there opportunities for me to schedule a CK-12 training session? Yes, absolutely. I know that Debbie is going to share contact information. I will also show you basically any web page, any of the pages on our site, but at the bottom of it, you'll see right here under support is the Certified Educator Program. The Certified Educator Program is actually a CK-12 course that uses CK-12 material, that teaches you how to be a CK-12 expert. And it's self-paced. It basically, you click on this, you sign up for it as a teacher. It's free, of course, like everything else. It walks you through the process of how to sign up for it. When you click join, you'll have a book that's actually added to your library. That's the CK-12 certified expert FlexBook, and it walks you through the process of completing that. And then you get a certificate when you're done. It'll have generally 50 teachers at a time in it, and it's constantly re-rolling through. Whenever it hits 50, it starts a new course, and there's usually multiple courses a month because there are constantly new teachers enrolling in that program. So yes, that's absolutely there, and I know that Debbie has contact information in the remainder of her slideshow, I think. So I'll get out of her way and let her see that, let her take over again. Are there any other questions anyone has? We have just a couple of minutes left here. If there's anything else somebody wants to demo, now's the time. If not, I'm going to get out of the way and let Debbie take back over. Going once, going twice. All right, back to our fearless leader.
All right. All right. All right. The excitement of the possibilities. I think that's the thing that's really cool. All right. So we've showed you about AI and Flexi. Phenomenal. Now, there are others out there. There are other AI tutors. This one, 90% of people prefer this one because they like the way it works with the student and has so many ways to meet the needs. We talked about how CK-12 has created a way to support the teacher and make so you know which questions the students are going to miss, so you know what to go back and reteach. We didn't even take a look at all of the places and the different kinds of resources that are available, the simulations, the Plex, all of these things. Some teachers love CK-12 because it offers that thing to gather everyone at the beginning of the day and give you an example of a simulation for all the students to kind of chew on for a moment and get excited. It offers the way for you to differentiate assignments. And I can't wait for you to be able to level the text. When I've used CK-12 to be able to use reading assignments that are at the 4th grade level, but with adult kind of topics that adults are interested in and not the bouncing bunnies, CK-12 is there. And now they're making it even better. So this is truly remarkable. All right, so contact information. I am there, djensen@scoe.net. Laramie, you'll be able to reach him through partners at ck12.org, support at ck12.org, and you've got the www help, all of these different ways. CK-12 wants you to succeed. And so anything that you want, they will make it happen. This presentation is also available at my website so that if Huva, you're not able to get it or something doesn't work, it's also available at this website where I've got my DJ presentations. I have presented day-long presentations on CK-12 where teachers wanted to create their own FlexBooks, and those presentations are at this website too. Thank you. We love CK-12. We hope you will love it too, and that it will meet your needs. And you'll get excited and take it back to your school and get your admin involved so that you can actually parcel it out and have everybody working on something so that everyone benefits. That would truly be the most exciting thing of all. Any other questions, Laramie, or we've blown them away
I
and they're
think we're all
spaceship?
good. I did put my personal, well, my work email in the chat. So if you wanted to contact me directly, you're welcome to. In addition to that teacher training, I do also do some individual sessions with specific people that want to walk through something that maybe isn't part of the certified educator program. So I've done that several times. I do a lot of large initiatives, district level, state level, country level, places that are adopting CK-12 sort of as a blanket either solution for all of their curriculum at a certain level or all of their curriculum K through 12, or as a supplement to other curriculum. So any of those situations that you may need help with, you're welcome to contact me for. My pleasure to work with you, and my pleasure to work with you, Debbie. You're a great team member here. I
It's
appreciate it.
fun. Now, you may be afraid of doing the certified instructor. That sounds really scary. Oh my goodness. Except that all I wanted was my own course, and I used their instructions to create my own course, and they just walked me right through it. And so I highly recommend it. It's really valuable, and it'll answer all your questions and help you along the way. Thank you. Thank you, all of you. And I hope you find CK-12 to meet the needs of your class and of your students.